Hey, thanks for joining us. Al and I are in two separate locations, and I don't have a great internet connection, so I'm going to shoot a little intro here. I'm at Surge, Richmond, Virginia. You can see behind me, we've got the zip line that we've installed. I've got a couple more weeks here to get this park all up and running and turned over to the owners, but we're super excited to be here and doing some quality control and all the things that we need to do to make sure this park is ready to roll and serving the customers here in this community. But we are going to be interviewing Nate.flock. He is one of our team in the sales and design and marketing, and he's our trainer. And Al is going to be spending some time with him talking about what's so important about training and really helping you as an owner operator get reopened safely, efficiently, making sure your team who may have been off for weeks or longer engage with the customer safely and make sure they're taking care of their attractions. So Al and Nate, hope you guys are doing well. I'm going to toss it over to you. There you go. There's the ball. And you guys have a good time, and I look forward to hearing what y'all have to say. Thanks for listening, everybody.
All right. Thanks, Scott, so much. I'm here with our very own Nate.flock. How's it going, Nate?
It's awesome. It's awesome, Al. Thank you.
That's great. Well, while Scott's out there doing the heavy lifting with the rest of our team, we're going to
what is this? If that's heavy lifting, what is this?
We're essential. We're just not heavy lifting. We're not physically lifting,
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah. So, no, but everything's essential. We have all these new terms that we got to throw around now. So,
right, exactly.
Anyway, but no, we have a great team, and everybody has really come together during all this time, and it's. I think we've actually become closer as a team during this time, which is amazing.
It's absolutely true. We definitely took advantage of this, and I have to give shout out to Scott.benjamin because he really took the helm by the hands and has really helped steer and increase. And Al, you've been doing so much stuff behind the scenes, so thank you for all your hard work and making Fun Spot more fun, because that's what we need right now. I think everybody could use a little bit more smiles and laughs right now. So
well, I agree with you, and I appreciate the compliment, but I totally agree. Scott has done a great job. So wish Scott could be here, but he is helping bring fun to different areas of the world right now. We'll have more news on that. Scott probably told you about it in the opening. So anyway, so we've learned more and more about everybody's personal lives as well during all of this, because we're at home and we're having to kind of channel into each other's homes every day to talk to one another. So you are a family man yourself. Tell us a little bit about Nate.flock and your family.
Yeah, so I am married to an amazing woman, and she is the epitome of what a multitasker can accomplish.
Okay.
She blows my mind with how much she gets done, and she's a doctor of naturopathy and a bunch of other things, and she's just an incredible woman to do life with. And then I've got three gorgeous little blonde-haired cutie pies and three girls, so y'all pray for me. It's awesome because daddy's got the cool job. We get to go to trampoline parks, and every now and then they get to reap the benefits of that, right? So I do appreciate my line of work, and it works out for them as well.
Yeah, and your little girls, they look nothing like you at all. Absolutely nothing.
They're my little clones, actually.
They look exactly like you. Yes, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, three little girl Nates.
My cloning project is going splendidly.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. You figured it out before all the scientists. So Nate, just to give everybody a little background, I call Nate the safety chief of Fun Spot. But Nate, try to, in a nutshell, in your tweet version, try to explain to everybody what you do with Fun Spot.
Let's see here. So I started about 8 years ago. Actually, this month is my 8-year anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
Fun Spot. Yeah. So I worked at a very successful park here in the Southeast back in 2011 and 2012. It was the first one in the state. And I did not know what I was doing. And so I was constantly asking for help. And so I understand FECs and GMs and what they go through. It's a hard job. You're juggling a lot of balls, and it's an ever evolving industry. So I was begging for training and for help, and never really got it. So I had to do a lot of trial and error learning, which I don't recommend, especially when people's safety is on the line.
Right.
But what I had to learn, I had to adapt and learn so that these injuries and incidents would decrease. And so in 2012, I got introduced to FunSpot and got to learn about ASTM. I had never heard about ASTM, and that's how I was introduced to that, and became a student of ASTM simply because it is kind of the plumb line for our industry. And so in that process, I somehow picked up the safety training program, the operations training program, and then I also write the manuals, the operator owner manuals for our attractions. So, and do a little copywriting here and there.
So it might have been easier if I said, what don't you do?
Oh, no. Well, I don't do what you do. I don't do what Scott does, or any of our sales or marketing.
That's why our team is so powerful. Everybody's so multifaceted. It's amazing.
It really is.
How awesome it is. And it might sound like we're just blowing smoke, but it really is truly amazing, the team that we have cobbled together.
Having been in other work environments where some people maybe all shared the same gifts and talents, and then we're all like, wanting to fight for that one thing that we're all good at. But at FunSpot, it's just been awesome to see how everybody's gift mix is so different. And so then I get to lean on others, and I don't have to be the jack of all trades,
Yeah, exactly. So I've been to parks and things of that nature with you, and filmed a few things that we'll talk about in a little bit. So I've got to see you work, and to be honest with you, it's not a full understanding of what you do until you actually see it in action. And so today I really want to drive home the importance of what you do, not because you are who you are or anything like that, not to blow smoke, nothing like that, but it honestly is the most important piece of, I'd say, what we do here, safety, because we put safety first at FunSpot within all of our park builds. So I want to ask you, what is something that if you could tell every park owner, every future park owner, whether they did business with FunSpot or not, why is it important to have someone actually train their staff and them as they get ready to open, or maybe even get a refresher course?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a great question. And safety, I think, is on the forefront of everyone's mind right now. And, the last 8 years, I've seen a number of parks, they invest all their time and energy on getting those physical matters taken care of, securing the building and getting the install done. And then after a $3 to $5 million investment, they end up having to put it on the shoulders of untrained teenagers. And it just seems very counterintuitive that they'll spend so much energy and time and money and focus on just getting the physical thing built. But then there's this whole other thing where you're going to take that investment and then put it on the shoulders of someone else. And in this situation, it's a lot of the times teenagers or young adults. And so it's shocking when that happens, that, it comes to that, because I understand it is a lot of work. I mean, we're talking at least 2 years of dreaming and building. And we want to make sure that, they're not overlooking any critical issues that can end up costing them down the road. So if we step back and look at any FEC, it's an issue of protecting the investment. This is not the Field of Dreams. Remember that movie with Kevin Costner?
Oh yeah.
If you build it, they will come. Mm-hmm. And then, every problem's solved, because the movie ends with the camera panning back and there's this long line of cars coming to enjoy what was built. And there's a whole step that comes after the build, before the cars start lining up. And that is the issue of securing a culture of safety within the park. And so I think if we simplify it down, we're just looking at really 3 main issues with the issue of safety. And then there would be like a fourth that would be kind of a byproduct. Number one, it's protection, obviously, for the guests and the patrons. first and foremost. Because if this is not one of the most important things on an owner's heart, more than making money, then it's going to be a really faulty foundation to build upon. You know, you can walk into a park and you can tell if safety of the guests is a top priority in the park. You can just walk in and within the first couple minutes, you can tell that safety is a priority somewhere. You can see the way the park is kept, the way it's cleaned, the way the staff interact with the guests, even how it smells. You know, those are some things that signposts for the care of the owners and the operators. And then second, it's a protection for the owners. You know, a safe park that is practicing the industry best practices, understands the standards of the industry, and then correctly trains and manages their staff. So they're going to see less incidents, but also they're going to see less litigations, and litigations can be shut down quickly when you have a proven track record of fulfilling your due diligence. And they're not going to know what their due diligence is until they get that sort of training, right? So that's another issue, is protecting their investment. They have to know what is expected of us. Right. And then third, it's a protection for their staff. You know, if they're not given the tools that they need, then they're just going to be winging it and guessing. And that leaves them in an unsafe scenario. And as one who had to do that back in 2011, 2012, man, it's not fun. It's a horrible experience, you know, having to fill out an incident report for, you know, a child injury that could have been avoided just because we didn't understand best practices or protocols. And not only for their protection, but also consider what a teenager might have to go through if they witness something tragic that could have been avoided if they had just been trained correctly. And so we want to provide, you know, an escape from unnecessary traumatic experiences for the staff as well. And then fourth, it's, as I said, it's kind of a byproduct when you do all three of those, when you're considering the safety of the owners and operators, the staff, and your patrons and guests. The fourth byproduct is that it's going to be good for the industry. It's protection for the industry as well. You know, if we're all sharing the load, if we're all doing our part, the industry thrives. But then negligence in the industry doesn't just affect the negligent FEC or the negligent park, it ends up affecting the entire industry. So I joke that we invest so much into our training because we don't want the Federal Bureau of Trampoline Parks being established by the government. You know, we don't need the government intervention to babysit us. If we learn to work together to manage ourselves with excellence and humility, we need to learn from each other and then celebrate successes in the industry, because then we can all get a piece of that success pie. So our industry thrives when we're all on the same page and saying the same thing, not just hiding behind statements about being ASTM compliant, but actually working with industry professionals and organizations that help us stay connected, kind of like IATP, and where we're looking out for each other, and we want to celebrate and grow as a industry.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree with everything. And to be honest with you, I didn't realize just how much could be avoided until I saw your first one that I had to film. And I'll also say this, you mentioned this quite a bit over time, that they also, you're putting a lot of money into a park, and this is your reputation. This is your mouthpiece for when somebody comes into the park. So how important is it to you look at people like Chick-fil-A and Disney who have crazy good customer service. You know, how much of your training goes into just the commonalities, the talking to people, not to yell across the park, things of that nature?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think, you know, a lot of this, we have to remember who are the staff. They're teenagers for the most part, and they're still learning social skills. You know, I'm 37 and I'm still learning social skills, right? You know, this is a lifelong process. So how much more, you know, we want to equip the teenagers with tools so that they can just thrive. They're not having to guess it or wing it, but it's so much of a social work environment, right? So we have to train in that element and use it in a way that they're going to be able to receive it and apply it themselves. So I think storytelling goes a long way, you know, giving examples of the things that I've been through and the things I've seen in the industry, not to scare them, but one, we want to sober them up. You know, we want them to understand the reality of their line of work is very important. They're protecting people's lives and people's investments. And so it is a very important job, and they should have a measure of pride in their work. But also there's just a measure of the complete training where they really need to understand the why behind things. And sometimes that can get kind of boring for a teenager. They're like, I thought this was just going to be like me jumping on a trampoline. What is all this about kinetic energy and stored energy? And, but when you tell the story and you make it humorous and you make it lighthearted, I've yet to have a board group of court monitors. Maybe not everyone was all on board, but most of the time they're very engaged. They ask great questions. And when you tell the stories and you talk to them like adults and say, look, you've got a lot on your shoulders. I'm trying to give you some tools to help you so you can do your job well. And they eat it up. They really appreciate that because they want to be helpful. They want to be successful. So definitely keeping them into a place where they understand what's at stake, but not to the point where they're working in an environment of fear. And then making sure that they have that complete safety training from the manufacturer, because at the end of the day, the manufacturer must work with their customers, right? There are no other organizations that can replace the recommendations and best practices provided by the people who build the equipment. And it's our job to evaluate risk beforehand and keep our finger on the pulse of the industry so that we're constantly improving the operations and use. So it really comes down to risk assessment. And for something like training teenagers, like I said, it can be a little difficult, a little boring, but so you got to make it lighthearted and you got to make it applicable and relevant to them.
Yeah. And I think the part that I saw, and this is just what I witnessed, but I think the one part that I enjoyed the most while watching you train a bunch of teenagers is when they have to role play somebody hurt on the on the mat or whatever, and whatever the scenario is that you give them. And it's just so funny to watch a bunch of teenagers just sit there and ham it up and actually just be little kids for a little while. So
yes,
they're really just hamming it up. So it is quite fun to watch. But I will tell you this, I've never witnessed a park that we went to that the aftermath was nothing short of just 100% positivity. And that's due to your services, the system that you've built around the ASTM and things of that nature. But we are coming out of, well, let's say this, we're starting to get our grip on, we'll put it that way, to be fair. Starting to understand better the COVID-19 craziness. And this is a whole new curveball for everybody, especially parks, adventure parks. And we have, the Tuesday Townhall started just because it was kind of like, just, hey, we're here for outreach. We're here to help you out. We're here to be whatever we can for you right now. So what do you see a post-COVID-19 world being like? And how do you see it? Do you see any major changes as far as, I know cleanliness, and we've spoken on ad nauseum about, all the disinfecting and the sanitization and just everything like that. But do you see anything that you're going to have to kind of alter at all or add to your training?
I think our parks are going to be cleaner than any other season of this industry. That is for sure.
Exactly.
So that's producing another good thing. I honestly think that the training isn't necessarily going to change so much because the issue of cleanliness, I think like you said, we've really embraced it and we've really taken it and run with it. And we saw what was actually possible for our industry all along. It just took kind of a global pandemic issue to make us realize, hey, we could all practice personal hygiene a little better. We could all do our part. And so I think it kind of awakened that awareness. But I think more than it affecting the training, I think more innovations are going to come out of this. People are going to have to get creative and adapt. And because here's the issue, there's always going to be a demand for FECs and families to be able to go out and have fun together. And there's always going to be a demand for that. And so I see good things coming because this is causing people to be more creative, more innovative on how not just we stay clean, but how do we have fun in a safe manner, and getting creative in how we're going to do that in a sense of what's going on globally. So I see good things coming out of this for us. I don't necessarily see it affecting my training so much. I think most of the universal stuff will continue, the things that we got to tighten ship on. You know, and anything that we see that a court monitor or a court attendant is not doing correctly, it's really not a reflection on them. You know, anytime I see a Google review about rude court monitors or anything of that sort, you know, it's not really a court monitor issue. It's more of a management issue. It's a owner operator issue. They didn't train their court monitors well. They don't have proper systems in place. Doing something as simple as writing scripts for your team, so they don't have to wing it every time they need to approach someone, but giving them tools on, this is what you say when someone asks you this question, this is what you say. And that gives them confidence to then do their job well, because they're not having to worry about what they might say in those situations. You've already given them that tool, so now they can just be themselves. So I think most of the training is going to kind of stay the same until we start seeing more of those innovations, and then we have to write new manuals for new attractions,
which is the most fun thing in the world, I'm sure. Yeah. So we do have innovations coming. We can we're starting to squeak the air out of the balloon now. We're starting to tell people a little bit here and there about Zumba. Mm-hmm. So Zumba is going to pretty much revolutionize. Now, the thing is that whenever you train nowadays, especially with everybody understanding things like we're doing right now, speaking over Zoom and things like that, training is available in park, and training is available, you know, while like you can stream training, things like that. Do you have a preference of, like, let's say it's a brand new park, right? Let's mm-hmm. say that you got a bunch of people that are green and they've never had training whatsoever. This is, you know, they're looking at this from, I've been to a trampoline park and it was fun, and I wanted to open a trampoline park. So do you have a preference? Do you have anything that says, like, hey, a new park should train in person, and maybe if you're getting a refresher course, you train online, or can you do either or for either or?
Yeah, I'd say for sure it's got to be both and, actually. I personally feel the time that needs to be prepared beforehand, especially with a new park. You know, we're talking about department design and working out policies and procedures and EAPs and all of those things. You have to put those together before you open your park, right? So a lot of those planning times happen over, like what we're doing right now, over Zoom. And we have a whole phase 1 training program that consists of that. And it's extremely thorough so that they can go into hiring more confidently, because they know what they're looking for and they know what kind of systems are going to be in place. So they know what kind of people they want to operate within these systems and these policies. And then there's the awesome thing about Zumba is that it's going to have our online training program, which is really the first of its kind, because it's coming directly from the manufacturer, and it's covering ASTM standards, and it's covering our own conceptions of risk assessment and best practices in the industry, as well as what we take in from, and we learn from our customers all the time. So it's a growing training program. So there is a measure that they can get so much through a video beforehand. So a lot can be done beforehand, and with refreshers, absolutely. And that's what the online training program is for, because it's not really affordable or realistic to fly a trainer out every time there's a high turnover season. You know, like at the end of the summer when you have graduating seniors and they're all going off to college. Now you got to replace all your seniors for the next year. You know, parks expect that every July and August they're having to, you know, throw a party to say, we love you, congratulations, have fun at college. And then they have a whole new hires that they have to train. And then there's the same thing around holidays. There's a lot of times that they're having to do new hiring. So having that access to that training that is consistent with what I do on site, that is extremely helpful. That's going to be at their fingertips. But then also the on-site is helpful, because I know some parks, especially first-time parks, they appreciate having an on-site rep there to walk around, float around. And one of my favorite things to do is just take a list of notes, really practical things like, hey, at this particular station, this court monitor was being very friendly with the guests, but they weren't monitoring the airbag. So we got to find a good balance of being social and kind with your guests, but also monitoring the attraction that they're supposed to be. Just like little nudges along the way. There's those little things that if you don't catch them at the beginning, within 6 months, you're way off course. And so we want to catch those at the beginning. So that's another reason that the on-site is so helpful, is that they're on site to help with the team, especially the lead team, and just help shepherd and kind of get some of those ideas so that 6 months down the road, they're still on course.
Yeah, Zumba is not only going to help with training and such, it's also going to help with maintenance. So that's another thing that you really touch on, is maintenance and things of that nature. Because
inspections, it just makes inspections so much easier now. I'm really glad that the industry is getting it, but man, if I had this 8 years ago, it would be a completely different story. But it's to be able to make inspections so easy, practical, with a simple and sleek user interface, because again, we're working with teenagers and young adults, sometimes early 20s even, who are going to be doing these inspections as a leads or a supervisor. We need to make this so that they're not having to do a bunch of guesswork. It needs to be simple and to the point, but it can build that defensibility file for the park, or they can prove that they're consistent, that they've that all of their court attendants are being trained the exact same way. They've completed the test. They understand all of the attractions, and they know what to look for during the shift as well. Because there's a lot of parks that don't want court monitors doing the daily inspections, and the good thing about having them a part of inspections in general, though, is so that they can understand what to look for while they're on the shift. So even if they're never a part of the daily inspections, being able to be trained, even just watch some of our videos and inspections, they know, hey, when I'm working dodgeball, I'm going to go ahead and look up and I'm going to push on the netting and just see how the turnbuckles and cables are responding, just to make sure that there's no loose cables. During their shift, they can do those little things, or just a little hop around one of the webbings of a trampoline, just to make sure that there's no resistance changes in any of the springs. Just little things they can do throughout their shift, just to make sure the equipment is operating as it's supposed to during a busy day.
Yeah, and as we move forward, and right now, with everything the way it is, parks are opening depending on the state and depending on the country, and depending on just your local government. It depends on, so that's how you might be opening or whatever. But the thing I want to touch on is, right now might be a good time to get one of those refresher courses, and so how do people go about, because some people might not even think about, like, oh wait, you can get a refresher course, I need to do that again, because things do change. ASTM standards do have updates and things of that nature, am I right? And
Yep.
so it is good to always be on the up and up, and you are the person within our company that does that for every single feature that we have, every single attraction that we have in stock in our arsenal, so to speak. You are the person that does that. You're the expert on that. So how does somebody go about getting one of the refresher courses right now, so that we can make sure that everybody has it? Because right now is a good time to do that, since your staff is a little bit slower maybe, and things of that nature.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, that's why we now have that video training program, because it makes the refresher so easy and it makes it affordable, not having to fly someone out and spend a few days and paying for all the extra. You have access to that training program at all times. So here's the thing, everyone's being trained consistently across the board. And in this time, with a lack of traffic, sometimes it is on a slower day, you can forget what it was like on a busy day, and it's going to pick up again. I mean, this industry is going to bounce back, pun intended, but we're going to see that resurgence. And so we do need to be prepared. And it comes down to, because the industry is evolving, because our world's evolving, our training has to be updated. I mean, we should be committing ourselves to always learning and always growing, regardless of what's going on this season. So I would just say again, that Zumba makes that refresher so much easier. And the beautiful thing is, every court attendant is going to be logged in themselves, so that they'll all have their own verification that they went through the training, they passed the test. And that's just going to look good in a defensibility standpoint. Insurance companies are probably going to love that as well, that they have proof that they're all being trained consistently and across the board.
Yeah. And, it's better to put the effort, time, and even expenditure into it now than having to do that. I mean, God forbid anybody ever gets hurt. That's what we're trying to prevent here.
Right.
And I don't know the statistics, maybe you do, but your type of training really does help people, like, kind of eliminate a lot of those percentages for people getting hurt. You can't eliminate, like, somebody coming in with a bad Achilles knowing they shouldn't jump on their bad Achilles and hurt their Achilles or something like that, But your training is really kind of erected so that it shows everybody how to save money in the long run, save heartbreak, save any kind of breaks of any kind, really. So do you have any percentages? Is there any kind of statistic on that, or is it just kind of we know that this kind of part does this, that, or the other?
I think the statistics are always coming and going, and I think the most important thing to keep our eye on then is more on the resolution. How can we resolve to assess risk so much that we're eliminating as many possibilities and scenarios as possible? And a lot of that does come down to your training, because the court attendants need to be trained to be proactive. They need to stop things before they start. They need to be able to see what could possibly happen beforehand. For example, I joke with the court attendants and I get down in like a sprinter position and I'm like, okay, what do you think I'm about to do? And they're all like, you're about to run. And I'm like, exactly. So if you see little kids lining up along the main court and they're in position, don't wait for them to start running. You run right in front of them and go, hey guys, you came here to jump, not to run. All right. So let's go back to one person per trampoline, no running or racing. Thanks guys. Just taking that minute to step in and redirect them to the correct use of the equipment. And I think that those two things, it comes down to proactive court monitors. They know what to look for, and they know how to not just blow a whistle. I mean, I'm just gonna be honest, that's pretty lazy. When you just blow a whistle and go,
right.
No, okay, so you want me to stand up? That was really rude. I'm only 20 feet away. You could have walked over to me and said, hey, I don't want anyone to land on you. We have a designated seating area over here. Could you come and rest over here? And then when you're ready to come back on, come back on. Just taking that extra 5 seconds to say something like that rather than a whistle blow, that kind of proactive court attendant. Then you match that with more patron education so that we don't have to see a rise in statistics. Our guests need to know, how do you correctly use the equipment? And that's, I think, where our industry can continue to evolve in the better direction, is that we would focus on the correct usage rather than on what not to do. Because it never fails. When you're driving down the road and you're looking at something, what happens? The steering wheel starts turning, right? You start drifting in the direction you're looking. It's the same thing with training. I don't want us to focus on what not to do so much. We want to address what not to do, but then we're going to focus on, this is how you say to your guests, this is how you correctly play on this equipment. This is the safest way to play. If you want to play here, this is how you play. And it's not focused on, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. It's giving them, you're instructing them. So I tell court monitors, you're not a lifeguard, because a lifeguard sits off to the side and waits for something wrong to happen. Then they blow a whistle and then they get involved. That's not what a court monitor is. A court monitor contributes energy and life to the attraction. They're the customer service department. They're interacting with the guests in a professional and non-distracting way. And so there's a way that you can educate your guests through that kind of trained staff, where they're constantly being told how to play and how to have fun there, rather than constantly hammering on, did you see that sign that says no? We don't want to go in that direction. We're going the other way. So we're focusing on the best practices. And so if you marry those two things together, proactive court attendants who have been correctly trained, and then you join that with patron education, training your staff in a way where they're constantly, they're not just not lifeguards, they're not enforcement officers either. They're not enforcing anything. They're teachers. I tell court attendants when I train them, I said, you are a teacher, you're an instructor. That's your job. You're overseeing this. Now, when you're in dodgeball, you're also a referee, and that's cool. And that's a lot of fun. But your main job is to be an instructor. you are showing everyone how to safely play. And you're doing it in a kind and professional manner. And with that kind of mindset change, when I say that, I can literally see the weight lift off of the court monitor's shoulders when I say that, because none of them want to be a lifeguard or an enforcement officer. They when they hear that they get to teach people on what's safe, they love that. They want to be empowered to change the world. And they see that this is just one avenue where they can help change someone's day and change someone's life. And so being those two things together, I think if we were to really focus on that, even in the next year as an industry, we would see statistics drop exponentially.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, until I visited a park where you were working, I didn't fully understand just the gravity of everything that you do, as far as how important of its importance, you know? So I'm glad that I got to see it. I'm glad I've got to witness it a few times.
I am too.
Yeah,
film a few.
Yeah, I got to
Director Al.
I got to film quite a few. We've been all around the country together, filming for this Zumba that we're talking about, and there's more to come on that. I don't want anybody to think we're not gonna. No, we're
leaking a little here and there.
Yeah, we're just kind of introducing you to the cat in the bag. We're not letting the cat out of the bag just yet. So, but yeah, I mean, it's exciting. We have a big event coming up, and we'll let everybody know about that too, to fully explain Zumba to everybody.
It's exciting.
Oh yeah, it's pretty exciting. And we've been working on it quite a bit, and for about a year now.
Over a year.
Yeah, so that we make sure that everything is just right for everybody, because the thing I like about Fun Spot, when I came in, everybody preaches safety so much. You know, it's even up in the factory itself, you know, that safety is number one. And the deal is that our equipment is the safest equipment in the industry. And then we have the safest, like the manuals with the most safety included and things of that nature. We have I would say the most sought after safety training for especially parks. Now, it's hard for us to go and do safety training it's easy to do safety training, but it's kind of hard for us to do safety training on stuff that we didn't really build. Am I right? Or can you do safety training?
I mean, there are a few universal things we just be mindful of just in the industry as a whole. But yeah, unless it's coming from the manufacturer, yeah, it's kind of hard to explain how to safely use the equipment. Plus ASTM, our plumb line says that the manufacturer has to provide the training.
So yeah, so first and foremost, what I would say is if you are looking at updating your park, kick the tires of Fun Spot. We make the safest equipment. I'm not just saying that because I work here. And we have the best safety instruction. And I'm not saying that because I'm just talking to Nate. I've actually seen this stuff in action. And it's amazing to watch some teenagers that might drag themselves in there. And then when they leave, they understand the importance. And I would say the good majority, not every single one of them, but I would say 97, 98% of them walk out like, man, I've got some real responsibility and I've got to live up to that responsibility. And that's what you kind of preach and like push on them. Like, this isn't just a job. This is a full responsibility. You got people's lives and livelihood in your hands. You say something about you wouldn't put the responsibility of like a pizza or something like that, or I don't even know. You say something about pizza and stuff, and
it may change with every park. I don't know. Sometimes it's on the fly.
It's like you know, like you wouldn't put this simple task in of ordering a pizza in somebody's hands that didn't care or something like that. So anyway,
well, you definitely have to engage their imagination. Because that is a powerful tool. Teenagers are very creative and imaginative. Most of them haven't, experienced enough to diminish their creativity. That's a really peak time of dreaming and hoping in someone's life. And so utilizing their imagination, not just dumping information on them. I mean, they have to do that at school. They have to memorize dates and equations and all that. I'm not trying to make this another school for them. It just needs to be very practical, because when you are walking up to somebody who has a potentially hurt ankle, you don't need just the information of step one, do. It's like, we don't want robots walking up to the people. Hi, what has happened there? Are you okay? You don't want to walk up and sound like a robot. So their personality's got to come out. So you've got to engage them in that way, because when the adrenaline is in your system, and it will be when you're walking up to somebody who's potentially hurt, the adrenaline kicks in, and you don't need to just try and go back through your brain and find the file of what are the steps. It needs to be so applicable and relevant and practical for them. So, and that's where some of those role play scenarios come in, and they're so fun. And like you said, they get to ham it up a little bit. And it's supposed to, though, because, they need to, even having to perform in front of each other, the adrenaline's kicking in, right? So they're getting kind of an experience of what they would get if they were to be in that kind of situation. So their adrenaline's there just because they're having to perform in front of people. And so it's a very similar situation, and we have seen pretty good success. They tend to remember those steps and what to do, even in like an injury response or something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of fun to watch kids. I call them kids because I'm so old, but
young adults.
These young adults. It's fun to watch them grow right before your eyes, and you've just met them a day before or a couple hours before. So Nate, I want to thank you for coming on. So how does somebody go about getting in touch with you, and if they want to have you come out to the park, if they want to do an online course, how do they go about getting in touch with you?
Yeah, so they can easily reach out, Nate.flock at funspot.com. Or if you're already a FunSpot customer, you can easily reach out to your FunSpot rep, and they can get you connected with me. It's right now, because of the launch of Zumba and the online training program, we've got another few things in the works. So this is a great time to be connecting and get in on the front end of this, because I do believe it's going to revolutionize the industry, and it's going to set these parks apart, because there's going to be a consistent and proper training that's taking place. And even just if you have an inquiry about Zumba, like what is the commitment, what are all the features, because we haven't even begun to tell you the features so much.
Pretty robust.
So it's I would say just start asking questions, because we're excited about the future of this industry. We're excited about the potential new innovations. We're excited about so much. So really, if you just want to start the conversation, we'll be happy to be excited with you and tell you why we're excited, and to share some of those avenues for you to get connected, make sure your staff is properly trained. We do offer also secret shopper opportunities where I can come in incognito. I'm not gonna have like a fake mustache on or anything with
I was one of those too. Yeah.
But just come in beforehand, and maybe come in the night before I would do a training, and we've done those, and those have been really successful. And so there's a lot of different ways. So I would just say ask questions, find out why we're excited, find out what's going on with us, and we'll be happy to share how you can become a part of the FunSpot family and ride this wave to the top. We're not going to sink, we're going to rise.
And you can never be too safe. You can never have too much training, the way I look at it. So and we're here to help. That's literally what we're doing, is, and everything that we do, we're trying to make the ownership, the maintenance, the just the leadership group, everything, every single responsibility. We're trying to alleviate the nuts and bolts of it, so you can pay more attention to the safety aspect of it, and so you can pay more attention to the personable side of it. So,
yes, that's a great point. Because a lot of those little details, incident reports, and all that stuff, if it's now that it's all localized within something like Zumba, with all your training and building your defensibility pile all in one easy portal, it lifts a weight of off the shoulders of the operators, for sure, because it just makes things so organized and so easy. And so now the operators are not so stressed out trying to make sure they've dotted every I and crossed every T. The app does that for them. They just get to follow the little protocols, and then they can focus more on raising up the staff that will knock it out of the park and make it, another pun intended, make it one of those standout parks, for sure.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to put Nate's information down in the show notes, so make sure you look for that. But you can also just reach out to Scott or myself if you have any questions. We're glad to answer whatever you might have. And I mean, Nate, is there anything you want to add, or anything you want to leave the people with before we bid each other farewell for the day?
I would just say, this is an always changing industry. So we love working with our customers to come up with new ideas. This is a collaborative effort with some parks. So maybe you think you have an idea for an attraction in a park that hasn't been done yet. We would love to dream with you, at least dream with you, talk with you about those things. That's one of the reasons we are Fun Spot. We want this to be a place where people can come and say, what if, well, could you make an attraction that looks like the dodgeball but has this feature? And there's so many things we haven't tapped into yet, but when that collaborative effort comes forth, that's when you really make some really cool parks. So we as a manufacturer would invite anyone who has that creative level to come dream with us, get excited with us, and definitely stay connected in the next year as the industry is evolving with us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I echo that sentiment greatly. So that's
you're a dreamer, Al. You love that stuff too. So you're like, new attractions, let's go for it.
Yeah, no, it's fun. That's the fun part of this, is that we get to think up something, and if it's safe enough and then it's feasible, then we can actually go out and build those dreams. And we have the crazy talented team to do that. So from our installers all the way up to the CEO,
project managers. I mean, we got some
salespeople
in the office. My goodness, we got some. It's a fun team to work with.
The accounting team, everything, the shipping team, everybody at Fun Spot. Wish I could name them all by name, but there are just so many. They are just such salt of the earth people, we'll say. They are great people. So come and be a part of the Fun Spot family. We love it, and we love growing our family, and that's why we call it a family, because we actually do communicate, and we don't treat people. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. I've never seen anything like it. I'm just glad that people let me keep my email address. So
and your shirts.
Yeah, my shirts. We get a lot of shirts. So I want to thank you for coming on, Nate. I want to make sure you say hello to the family for us. And for anybody out there that is in need of Nate's talents or anything else, please contact us. We'll be glad to turn that call around as quick as we possibly can. So thank you all so much for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or if you're on YouTube, click all those bells and buttons so that you get all the reminders. We're still going to send out the email every week. So you can get
subscribe, click away.
Yeah. Do all that, because it only helps us in the algorithm, and we really need your help in that regard. But I want to thank everybody for just listening and our viewing.
Thank you.
And let's continue, share this out to your friends. If you know anybody that's looking to build a park, if you know anybody that's looking to add to a park, to just upgrade their park that they have currently, or if they need safety training, or if they just have a question, we are here to help in any way we can. So please reach out, subscribe, share, like, and we'll see you on the next episode of Tuesday Town Hall. Thanks so much, Nate.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks, Al.